Okay, I can see that the numbers are starting to slow down a little bit, so we will get this session started. Welcome, everybody. My name's Oliver, and I will be your host for today from UK University Search. You have joined us in our third session of the Meet the Russell Group webinar series, and today is all about the international students. So if you have missed any, we've had two yesterday, and those were covering things related to student life. So whether that's accommodation within the Russell groups or different extracurricular activities you may want to do. And before that was a little bit more of an introduction to who the Russell Group are. So if you were interested in any of these, you will have access to them on our YouTube channel in around a week's time or so. For those who aren't actually able to join us, so whether you've got friends, family members who aren't actually able to join the session, this is being recorded, and like the other sessions, they will be available on our YouTube channel in around a week's time or so. As the session does move on, I will be adding bits of information in that chat function. So it will give you links through on actually making sure that you are registered. Because if you are registered with these sessions today, you will be sent all of this information at a later date. I wanted to give a quick introduction to who we're actually joined by today. So we're actually joined by four panelists, so 4 out of the 24 Russell groups, where I'll be joined by the University of Glasgow, Newcastle University, the University of Cambridge, as well as Queen Mary as well. We're lucky enough that we've also got some people behind the scenes from Cardiff, Southampton, as well as LSE to answer all the questions you may have about being an international student or just the Russell Group in general. Guys, there is going to be a Q&A function at the bottom. So any questions you may have related to this topic, whether it might be for a certain university, please do fire away. We've got loads of help on hand to answer all the questions you may need, because that's what this session is all about. That's enough of me speaking now. What we're actually going to do is I'm going to pass over, share my screen. We're going to get a quick introduction from all of the universities, and then we'll get into all the questions that we need to ask. So I'll quickly share my screen and I'll pass over to Lucy at Newcastle University. Oh, sorry, I tell a lie. We're starting with the University of Glasgow, where we're speaking with Shay. So over to you, Shay.
All right. Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Hi, my name is Che, and I'm currently in second year studying Masters of Arts in Psychology from University of Glasgow, and I am one of the student ambassador of University of Glasgow. And just tell you a little bit about University of Glasgow. It is a really highly ranked university globally and within UK. And I believe it was nominated for the Scottish University of the Year just this year or last year. And Glasgow University offers a wide range of degrees and joint honors. So students have the opportunity to do either joint honors and explore a wide range of degrees. And for me, initially, I just wanted to study psychology, but now that I have the chance to experience the chance of flexible degrees, and now I want to do a joint honors in psychology and history. And it has really good reputations among other university students. When I applied, I was asking everyone what they thought about University of Glasgow from the UK, and they all had great things to say about it. And yeah, looking forward to speaking about.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Cher. And I'll be passing it over now where we're getting a quick introduction from Newcastle, where we'll be joined by Lucy. So over to you.
Sorry, yeah, thank you. Now it's my turn. But yeah, so I'm Lucy. I'm from Newcastle University as well, but I'm an international recruitment officer, and I focus specifically on the Americas and Central Asia, but I'm happy to answer questions from any region as well. I'm from Newcastle, so I obviously love it, but it is a really, really good student city. So you can see it was ranked top five student city in England. And I think we're top 40 globally as well. We've also got a really good university. So we were ranked top 110 in the world. and I think we're currently top 20 in the UK as well. We offer over 300 different types of degree programmes, whether that's in the medical faculty, humanities and social sciences, or engineering and computer science. And quite a few of our degrees have been ranked within the world top 100 as well. So civil engineering's in there, for example, and our fine art degrees and media and communication and journalism degrees also have a really good ranking within the UK. As obviously the other universities here are as well, we're part of the Russell Group. And I'm sure you've been explained that's kind of like the Ivy League in the US, but just basically the most highly ranked universities in the UK. It might be quite important for some of you if you're interested in sport, that we're top 10 in the UK for university sport, and we have been for the past 7 years. So we have over 65 different sports clubs, and you can do them just for fun, like I did when I was at university, or you can actually compete against other universities. And then finally, regarding employability, we have a really good employment rate, and we have some good links with industry and a really, really good career service who will help international students and home students find a student job, but also a graduate job as well.
Thank you very much for that, Lucy, and thank you for the intro about Newcastle University. So moving on now to our next panelist, where we will be joined by Queen Mary. So I'll be passing over sorry, I completely forgot your name there.
Robert.
Robert, that's the one. Robert. Thank you very much.
Hi there. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending the session this morning, and thank you to UK University Search for putting this on. I normally start these talks by saying we are a member of the Russell Group, but that's somewhat redundant in today's presentation. One of the great things about Queen Mary is obviously we are a highly ranked institution, so 120th in the world, 17th in the UK, according to Times Higher Education. We are a campus university, so having a campus in London is quite a rare thing. There are lots of universities in London. I think kind of 3 or 4 have kind of campus areas, but Queen Mary's campus ensures that kind of undergraduate students, when they come to us, they're guaranteed a room on the campus for the first year, providing they kind of meet the accommodation deadline. And I think that if you're thinking about moving to London, that's kind of an easy transition, an easier way to kind of move to the city. We have 19 different schools. So when I speak to international students, we are able to kind of offer something of interest to most students. So we have School of Medicine and Dentistry, Law, Engineering, Economics and Finance, Business and Management, Politics and International Relations, Biomedical Sciences, and many, many more. I'm not going to test myself by trying to remember all 19, but if you go to our website and have a look at the course portfolio, I'm sure you'd find something of interest. One of the great things about Queen Mary is our community. So we have 35,000 students overall. 40% of them come from an international background, and these come from 172 different countries. So it's a very diverse student community. And I think this reflects kind of the London population, probably common to my colleagues in other UK cities as well. We're very kind of diverse institutions. So no matter what country you come from, you'll be able to meet students from your country, but also meet other people from around the world. And I think that's one of the great things about Russell Group institutions is the internationalization, international experience that we're able to offer to our students. We also have kind of many student societies. So we have over 200 societies on the campus and over 70 different sports clubs. Being in kind of we're located in Zone 2 in London, so we're kind of in East London, so probably around kind of 20 minutes from Leicester Square by tube. But if you're a Londoner, it kind of counts as central London. Zone 1, Zone 2 is kind of what I would term as kind of central-ish London, but we're in the east of the city. It's very easy to get around. The tube network and public transport system means that you can live in halls of residence close to the campus and commute to the campus. We have many students who have residences in London or family in London, and also come and commute to the campus on a daily basis. that's about it from me. So obviously we're very excited to kind of speak to you today. If you do have any questions, obviously put them in the Q&A section. I don't know, obviously we have the medicine and dentistry deadline coming up for 2025 applications, which is in a couple of weeks' time. But most applicants have up until January to apply. But look forward to engaging with you in the Q&A section, and that's it from me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Robert. I'm moving over to our final panelist of the day, where we'll be joined by the University of Cambridge, and we'll be speaking with Lewis. So over to you.
Hi, good morning. Welcome, everybody. As my colleagues have said, the Russell Group represents some of the strongest or the strongest universities in the UK. We all provide amazing services and support, some of the most challenging courses you can find. At Cambridge, you are in a small city, northeast of London. What we can offer you is essentially a challenging and stimulating set of courses for your education. One of the main features of a Cambridge education is the supervision system, which are small one-on-one, one-on-two, one-on-three teaching. Obviously, we have some very good facilities that would be available to you. Another part of the Cambridge experience is the collegiate nature of the university, where you have essentially double support. You have academic support at the university level and at the collegiate level. You also have pastoral support in your colleges. Each college also has its own student union, and the university has a larger student union where you would find the international student union at the university level. We have counseling services, welfare services, disability resource center services, and there is some financial aid for international students. Also, one of the things that I just realized I didn't have on my slide is the accommodation. You are guaranteed accommodation for the length of your undergraduate degree, in college or off-site, but still part of the college. As far as transportation in Cambridge, you pretty much need to walk or take a bike. We don't have an extensive transportation system. It's a semi-campus university, so you need to go from one area to another within the city, but the university pretty much dominates the whole city. As far as what your expectations of the university experience, besides the academic, we have pretty much anything that you are looking for, from university clubs and societies, sports at pretty much every level. The city itself has pubs, bars, dance clubs, theaters, all sorts of things. It is a small city or a large town, depending how you want to look at it. It is very touristy, so there are a lot of people that come by. It's kind of like central London in some ways on most weekends. Speaking of London, we are about 50 minutes from London, from King's Cross, St. Pancras, and a little bit longer from Liverpool Street Station. The cost of living at the university is relatively low cost when you think about it. There are some fees that are involved with the colleges, but by and large, the actual accommodation is fairly low. And because we are, as I said, not necessarily a campus and not necessarily a city, you're able to maintain a fairly good work-life balance most of the time. Our terms are shorter. They're 8-9 weeks, thereabouts. And the last thing would be the employability part. We are one of the top 10 universities in the UK for employability. Our career service is available to you as a student and as a postgraduate student, or rather after you graduate. There are one-on-one sessions. There's several major career events in almost every discipline throughout the year. We have a pretty good database of graduate level jobs. And then also, of course, your colleges and your departments are able to provide this same service to you. You have a QR code on the bottom right if you'd like to get more information about the university in and of itself. But all of this information, and I'm sure that for my colleagues as well, is available on our websites. And yes, please join the Q&A and upvote, if I think you can upvote your questions, and then we'll get to them as soon as we can. Thank you, everybody. Good luck.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Lewis. And thank you to all of our 4 panelists today for joining us, and a massive welcome. Not only have we got these 4 institutions, we have also got the likes of Cardiff University, LSE, and the University of Southampton here to help out and answer all of your questions. Because as I mentioned, guys, this session is all about you and getting as much information you can about the upcoming year or so. So please do fire away your questions in that Q&A function, which should be at the bottom of your screen. So how today's session is going to run now, after these introductions, what we've got is we've got a few rounds of questions. So we'll ask all 4 panelists 1 round, and then we've got another round after. If we do have a little bit of time, we will have the chance to answer a few questions that might have came up in the Q&A that we feel like are good questions or have been repeated, but we'll have to see what happens. To reiterate, for those that did join us a little bit late, this session is being recorded. So for family members or friends that aren't able to attend today, they will have the chance to watch this on our YouTube channel in around a week's time or so, but we will be sending you more information after. Apart from that, guys, there isn't too much but to get started with the session. So starting with our first question, I'll be joined again by the University of Glasgow. So my first question to the University of Glasgow and Cher is it harder to be accepted than if you were a home student? Are British nationals given preferred treatment?
Hi there. To answer that question, no, British nationals are not necessarily given preferred treatment. International students are very much encouraged to apply for University of Glasgow. And our courses generally does have a pretty high percentage of international students in every course. For example, for my course for Psychology of Masters of Arts, we have 64% of UK students and about 35% international students. So you do see it's quite a high percentage. However, whether it is for UK students or international students, admission is still quite competitive. And personally, I took the IB system in high school, and specific requirement entry for the programs are all stated on the official university websites or UCAS. And international students can apply to universities with their international qualifications that are equivalent to the UK requirements. And students can actually use the tariff point system, I believe is on UCAS, to kind of convert the grades in other qualification to a numerical value to see where the UK, how it is equivalent to the UK requirements. And if you have any inquiries about that part, you can always contact the UK ENIC website, which is the UK National Information Center, or with the university directly. And that goes for all of the Russell Group universities. And I think the one thing that really just sets apart from international students compared to UK university students and the application process is there might be additional requirements for you as an international student for application, such as an English proficiency test upon visa registration. So that could be TOEFL or IELTS, but that's just purely for the visa application, which can be done in numerous countries in the official testing center. But no, UK students are not given preferred treatments in that sense.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that first answer, Shay. That was great. So to move across now, we'll be joined again by Lucy at Newcastle University. So Lucy, my first question for you is, are some qualifications worth less than others? So how are grades converted into A-level grades? Sorry, this question is a little bit of a long one. I'll keep running through. We might have to break it down a little bit. So for example, IB compared to A-levels, or a national qualification compared to A-levels, would it be better to do the IB? You might have to break that one down a little bit. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's a good question. And it's a really useful question for students as well. So I think Che touched on it a little bit as well, because she was saying she did the IB, but it's quite a complicated question because it'll be the same for most Russell Group universities, but it really depends on which country you're coming from and which qualification you have. And what is accepted also kind of changes depending on the institution, but all of the information in all of the cases will be on the website. So I know Newcastle University is very transparent about it. We have country pages for every country, and then we list what qualifications on those country pages are equivalent to the A levels or what you would need to come into university. And I'm pretty sure most other universities do that as well. So I will put a link to an example of one of our country pages in the chat after I've finished speaking, just so you can see what I mean a little bit. But it's got it for undergraduate and postgraduate. So yeah, it's kind of a yes and no for the qualifications because it really depends where you're from. I do think that IB is obviously an internationally recognised qualification, and we do accept it, and most universities do accept it, and it's looked at as a very good qualification to have. We know it's very difficult, and yeah, we do accept that. So it's kind of a safe one to do. But then there are some countries where we do look at the national curriculum and accept it. So for example, I work with Canada and we accept the secondary school diploma directly without the need for IB. But yeah, when I work with Latin American students, we don't accept some of the high school diplomas from Latin America. So we then ask for the IB. For the US, for example, we don't look at the high school GPA, but we accept AP classes. So we do take into consideration a lot of different qualifications from different countries. And you don't strictly just have to do the IB, but I would say that as the most kind of internationally recognized qualification, it is a really good one to have. And in terms of how to convert it kind of to A levels, all of the information should be on the university's website, or you can just email the university directly. But for Newcastle, for example, for A levels, we ask for between grades A, and ABB. So in the UK, the home students would do 3 subjects or 4 at A level, and those would be the grades that we ask for. And then to convert it into IB, we ask for basically, depending on the course you want to study, between 32 and 38 points. But say if you're doing something like engineering, where we would ask home students for an A level in maths, that would then mean that you would need probably a higher level in maths with the IB. So there'll be certain subject requirements. There'll also be other requirements for certain courses. So you might have to do an interview for certain courses, which could be online. And you might have to provide a portfolio for certain courses, so more like the creative and arts courses. But yeah, so I hope that's kind of answered it. But I'd say if you have any doubts at all, just contact the university. Like I'll leave my email in the chat after this as well. But all of the information should actually be on the university's website as well. So yeah, if you have any doubts, that would be the first place to look. And if you can't find the information, then reach out to somebody at the university as well. But IB is generally like a really good recognized qualification.
That's great. Thank you very much for that answer, Lucy. That was brilliant. So moving across now to our first question with Queen Mary, where we'll be, with Cambridge, sorry, where we'll be joined by Lewis. So my first question for you there, Lewis, is do we have to talk about why I want to study abroad and in the UK specifically, and my English language skills in my personal statement?
Thank you for that question. One of the features of applying to the UK universities is through UCAS, where you are limited in the space of your personal statement. Generally speaking, we look for good writing skills in your personal statement. In the case of Cambridge, there's also an interview, so we also assess your English level at that point. I would say in general, you likely do not need to be on one line at most. Especially, I would do it if you're doing, for example, history, and you want to look at some research or some records in a specific university or in the UK. That might be a point where you want to talk about that. But generally speaking, it is not really necessary in most cases. Particularly at Cambridge, our application process is a little bit different. And there we have each college will consider, the tutors from the college will look at the subject. The application in the UK is essentially an academic focused personal statement. Most people say it's about 80% academic and about 20% personal. So in that academic part, we will see what you have done with your studies, and we can pretty much assess the English level there. Also, as part of your offer, you may have a language condition that can be met in different ways. And we'll talk about that in the next question that has been assigned to me. But I think you would be better served to focus on your academic studies rather than the English part or why you want to study abroad. I think that you can sort of include that in your personal statement in other ways. So yeah, I don't think it's a major thing to worry about. And the English requirement can be addressed in different ways. Also remember that there are different components in your application. So as far as English language requirements, you have your transcript, where there are courses there you likely took, language courses. You also have your counselor recommendation or your school recommendation. And there also they can provide us with information. And lastly, your schools tend to send us as well, at least to Cambridge, we tend to receive the school profile where it details the English language provision at your school. So overall, I think that one line, maybe two would be okay. More than that, it's really not necessary.
Thank you very much for that answer, Lewis. That was brilliant and really insightful. So to move across to the final round of first questions, where I'll be joined by Robert at Queen Mary. So Robert, after how many years living in the UK do I count as a home applicant? Would I pay the same fees and don't have to provide English language test results?
Okay, so this is I kind of winced when I read this question. It's one of the ones I get asked kind of most frequently, and kind of one of the most difficult to answer, really. So the UK government establishes the rules as to fee status. So these can be found on kind of general guidance can be found on UKISA webpage. And I think I'll put that in the chat after I finish speaking. I think one of my colleagues put it in earlier. But essentially, I'm just going to find so I'm going to read through Queen Mary's policy because that'll allow me to explain it. So to be eligible for the home rate of fees, you must normally be a UK national and be ordinary resident in the UK on the first day of the academic year for 3 years before the first day of the first academic year of your course. Generally, if you're a UK national who's lived all of your life in the UK, you will pay fees at the home rate. If you are not a UK or EU national and have not lived in the UK or EU, then you will pay fees at an overseas rate. If you require a time-limited visa to live in the UK, it is very unlikely you will pay fees at a home rate, even if you've been living in the UK or EU. So that's very complicated, and I'm afraid the process is very complicated. If you have any doubts as to if you've been living in the UK for more than 3 years, most universities will be able to offer you a fee assessment questionnaire, and this will be normally available to you after you have applied. We're not universities generally, and I'm speaking on behalf of Queen Mary because every institution policy might be a little bit different, but at Queen Mary you have to have made an application in order for us to review the fee assessment questionnaire. And what will happen is our admissions team will review. You have to submit a lot of supporting documentation. It might be kind of scanned copy of your BRP card, any settlement status documentation, home office letters, utility bills from a property in the UK, all of this information, and then they would look at the guidance, the funding guidance, and make a decision as to whether you will be home or overseas. Now, there are lots of idiosyncrasies in this policy, because one size can't fit all. There are many, obviously everyone's backstory and everyone's life is a little bit different. So I speak to many UK nationals who've lived overseas. Their parents might be teaching in a school or employed overseas, and because they've been living overseas and are not being paying tax in the UK, they are classed as overseas students, even though they hold a UK passport. So if you're kind of very mobile and you've moved around a lot, then I would suggest that, and you're not kind of categorically sure whether you would classify as a home or overseas student, then I would recommend completing a fee assessment questionnaire after you've applied. And then the university will be able to make a judgment based on the government legislation. You can find this in the UKESA webpage. So that's, when I get asked about that, I always point students in that direction, because that's the best advice available to all students, regardless of nationality. The second question is to whether you'd be able to waive IELTS. Again, it's a little bit dependent upon the institution, because each institution will have their own English language requirements. Generally, if you've studied A-level or IB and studied an English element of this, normally most universities would waive the IELTS requirement. But I would always encourage students or applicants, when they're researching their degree choice, to familiarize yourself with the English language requirements of that particular institution, to ensure that you fulfill them. It doesn't matter if you don't fulfill them at the point of application, because most will include a conditional offer IELTS requirement in an offer, in any offer that's made. So it's not even if you don't have English at the point of application, you'd be able to take a test later on to get the required IELTS level, or whatever test you would choose to take in order to meet that condition. So very complicated answers, but two takeaways is check the UKESA guidance on home and overseas fee status. And secondly, when you're researching a degree, make sure that you're familiar with the English language requirements of that institution and your particular program.
That's great. Thank you for that answer, Robert. And I can appreciate it's not the easiest question to answer, but I think you made that really clear. So thank you again. So that's it for our first round of questions. And we're going to be moving back now to the University of Glasgow, where we're joined by Shay for the second round. So Shay, the next question that I have for you is, where can I find advice about my application if my school can't support me?
Hi there again. Actually, I have personally experienced this scenario. I did not apply for university when I was in school, and I only applied during my gap year with no guidance from school, complete by myself. And I think I forgot to mention in the introduction, I'm originally from Taiwan, and I graduated in Spain with IB program. And so to summarize it, I think application for university in the UK follow a standard procedure. First of all, you register and apply through UCAS, where you can choose up to 5 universities. And then you submit your personal statements, CV, additional documents, etc. And then you wait for the offers. So if you are in a situation where you have no guidance from your school or little to no support, I would really recommend using the resources available online and just check the individual university websites for entry requirements and additional requirements and the deadlines as well. And as many different courses may have different requirements, it's really important to just keep in mind what the requirements are. And can't stress this enough, but definitely check the deadlines for applications. And we're really recommending noting down maybe the summer prior you're entering the university. So just so you are keeping track with everything for the process. And also really recommend speaking with a current student at the university. So University of Glasgow offers the students to have the chance to chat to students or staff at the university through a UniBuddy system, which has a lot of international students. So they probably have the same experience or have run into the same struggles when upon application. So ask them about how the application process was and their experience of applying, or even their university experience. I think that's very helpful. And if you know any friends or family who are studying in the UK, no matter what university it is, they probably have gone through the exact same thing. So when I was writing my personal statement, I had no idea what to write. So I had chatted to some of my friends who were studying in the UK already about how to structure it and what they're looking for. And it was really, really helpful. And also there's a YouTube channel for University of Glasgow where student content creators on YouTube are speaking about their experience, whether it's about visa application, registration, etc. And it's a more fun way or interactive way to kind of get some more information on it. And for international students, there are individual country page on the official university websites so we have subsections for all the countries that the students may be from, and then we would put down the entry requirement, not entry requirement, but the school system have, and then the requirements for visa application, etc. And the recruitment team will try to help you that as much as possible. And thank you.
Thank you very much for that answer, Shay. That was really, really helpful. So moving across now to Newcastle University, where we'll be joined by Lucy again. And we're moving more now towards student life, it feels like, with this question, Lucy. So what will the difference between me and home students be? Can I join clubs and societies as an international student? And finally, can I still stay in student accommodation with home students? Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, this is a good question. Generally, there shouldn't be any differences really between you and home students. I mean, I think that it goes for all of the universities, but they're all very diverse. So we're used to international students, and people should be friendly and very welcoming. So yeah, there shouldn't be any difference really. You've got exactly the same support as a home student would. So for example, at Newcastle University, you get disability support if you need it. You get a peer mentor who is somebody in the second or third year, whilst you're in first year, who can help you with any questions you might have about your degree. You'll get a personal academic tutor as well, who's an academic from your course as like a one-to-one contact. So yeah, there's a whole range of support. There's wellbeing support in every single school that's free to use. There's a nightline for you to call as well if you need any support during the night. There's 24/7 security. And yeah, so you have access to all of that. But I'd actually say as well, sometimes international students actually have a bit of extra support, because we recognize that obviously you're coming a long way. You might have a bit of culture shock at first. So there is a lot of extra support in place. So for example, a few weeks ago, we had the International Welcome Week. And I think most universities do this as well. But it's basically a week before the usual induction week for all home students and all students in general. And it's a chance for all of the international students to get together, make friends, and also get to know the city and the university. But they also provide practical advice on how to register for a doctor's, for example, and things like that, things that obviously home students don't necessarily need because they might already know. But yeah, there's actually extra support in place. And in terms of clubs and societies, I do think it's really important for students, especially international students, to join different clubs, sports and societies, just to integrate into university life and just make the most out of university. And it's obviously a really good way to make friends as well. And yeah, the answer is yes, you have exactly the same like rights and everything to join all of the societies and clubs on offer. So I think I mentioned, and I know a lot of the other universities have mentioned as well, we have a wide range of sports clubs that you can join just for fun or at competitive level as well. And then in terms of clubs and societies, so societies are like the social groups in the UK run by students, and they can be based on any kind of interest. So, for example, we have a Harry Potter society, we have a United Nations society, we have a Latin American society, a Taylor Swift society, which are just, really fun social groups that you can get involved with. And international students join them, home students join them, and you can also create your own one as well if you have a specific interest about something. That's free for home and international students to join. And then in terms of accommodation, yes, again, I've heard the other universities mention it. You're guaranteed accommodation as well. So at Newcastle, you're guaranteed it, and all of the accommodations like maximum 10 minutes walk from the campus, which is in the city centre, and it's mixed accommodation with home students. So I was actually talking to some of the international students who've just arrived. Some of them are just living with UK students, and some of them are living with international and UK students as well. So it's nice, you get to meet a wide range of people, and you definitely don't feel segregated or anything. There is one difference with our foundation programme. So we do have one foundation program for students who might not have the correct qualifications, and they can do like an extra year before they study to then come onto a course at Newcastle. In that case, you can choose to just live with international students for that 1 year, but again, that's a choice. And you wouldn't necessarily have to, but if you would prefer to, you can do that. But then generally when you come onto the degree programme at Newcastle as an undergraduate or postgraduate, you have the options as the same accommodation as home students as well. So I think that answers the question.
It definitely does. Thank you very much for that, Lucy. So moving over now to Lewis from the University of Cambridge. Lewis, this is a bit of a two-part question. So which English language test do I need to do, and what scores do I have to achieve?
Okay, thank you for that. Again, let me address it from the Russell Group level. Please understand that for us all, you're not required to provide the official final score until you accept until August. At the time of actually enrolling, most people have the results then. So there's a separate deadline for submitting your final English language results. So that is pretty much for everybody. You also need to understand that each university has different language requirements. In our case, and I think for a lot of universities, specific courses have their own higher or lower English language requirement. And lastly, the UK government, if you require a student visa, may have a different language requirement than the university. So for us, in general, you will be assessed, as I mentioned before, in your personal statement and application, also during the interview, if you are taken to that point of the application process. And just let me mention, by the way, that our application process is a little bit complex, but it is holistic. It is not a linear application. So it's not like you will be considered up to the point of exam or up to the point of interview. And no, we take every component of our application process into consideration of an offer to the university. So as far as the English part, you do need to be able to write and speak and communicate your thoughts in English at a high level at Cambridge. The average IELTS score is about 7.0, 7.5 for our courses. The one thing you do need to watch out, and please do look into your course description at all of your universities, whether they will accept your scores grouped together from different sittings, or in our case, you must sit all components at the same time, and we will take that score. We do not take the best component from different sittings. So that is something you should be looking at. Also remember that the scores are good for 2 years, and they are good 2 years to the first day of course. So they don't have to be good for the entire first year of undergraduate. They just need to be good up to the first day of your course. And after that, we should be okay with that. We accept IELTS. We accept TOEFL. The score for TOEFL is, I think, let me see. It says, well, actually, that's not accurate yet. So I believe our score is 115 as an average score that we take, although some courses may take 110, some of them may take a little bit higher. We do accept the Cambridge C1 and the Cambridge C2 exam. Now that is different than your A-levels or IGCSE language courses. By Cambridge C1 and Cambridge C2, I mean courses that are exams that are given by Cambridge Assessment separately from your IGCSE or A-levels. That's, you know, some other schools will accept Duolingo and things of that sort, and I do highly recommend that you visit those schools' websites. So I am sure in our case, if you put University of Cambridge English Assessment undergraduate, you will be taken to our webpage with that information, and you can follow all of the links there. Also, any of our course pages will explain all of the entry requirements, both academic and English language. I believe that UCAS also has the same information. And lastly, do visit if you do require a visa from the UK government, go to the gov.uk page for student visa, and there is a section called Knowledge of English. And there you will have a list of countries that are exempt for the visa process. So let me just go back one last time. As far as the University of Cambridge, your English assessment, your English language competency will be assessed in your application, at interview, and of course, through your transcript. So perhaps if you have done IGCSEs or IB or other such international courses, you may be exempt from our university English requirements, but do check as far as the UK government student visa English requirements. That might be different than ours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that answer there, Lewis. So moving on now finally to Queen Mary, where we'll be speaking with Robert. And this is a little bit more of a generic question, Robert, and that is there any specific information I might need as a UKI student?
Yeah, broadly, I mean, I think one of the things that I find interesting when I speak to international students who are in the UK sometimes is that they don't take advantage of the geographical location of being in the UK. And why do I say that is that UK institutions put on a plethora of open days where you can go and visit the university. And I think it's really important as an international student to go and visit the place that you intend to study, because the environment, you get a very human reaction to that. And I often speak to students, for example, I was in a fair yesterday at Oxford or something, and say, oh, obviously we're based in London, you're going to go to the open day on Saturday, and they hadn't booked in. I was like, well, go and see, because you might come and you might think this is the place for me. Brilliant. Or you might just think, actually, I want to be in a different environment. I want to be in a kind of a small town university or a city, kind of a different city environment. So I think it's really, really important for you to go to open days, because that will give you the contact with the program academics as well. So most kind of international student recruiters, and I speak very generally here, are kind of generalists. We're not teaching on specific programs. So we know a little bit about all of our programs, but if you're doing your level of research, you really want to know what's happening in the second year and third year of your program. So example, if you're interested in a psychology program, what one psychology program at one institution in terms of the content might be the same in the first year, but in the second and third year, is really going to start to reflect the research interests of the particular academics at that university. And one of the great things about the Russell Group is where we have many of the world's leading academics. We're research intensive institutions. So the modules that you get taught and the research networks that you can tap into are really, really important. And I think prospective students now have never had more information available to them online. But I would really encourage you to go and speak face to face as much as possible with the institutions by attending the open days. And I don't know why sometimes there is a hesitancy to do that. I think my view on this, and it is just my opinion, is that obviously if you are studying overseas and you come to the UK, maybe you've already made one choice by kind of selecting a school or something like that online, and you're comfortable making a choice online for a university. But I think having that chance to go and really visit the institutions is something I would really highly recommend in your when you are kind of shortlisting your universities. Because I always say to students, it's like when you go in a restaurant or something like that, you have an immediate first impression. Oh, I like this, feels comfortable, I feel at home here. And you can only get that by going to visit. Yeah, that's kind of the one point I wanted to make. I'm happy to take any other questions.
That's great. Thank you very much for that, Robert. So having a look through the Q&A, I feel like we've covered most of the overarching bracket when it comes to international students related to the student life, the sort of qualifications you need. And I wanted to say a massive thank you to all of our panelists for asking those questions. So that goes from Che at University of Glasgow, Lucy at Newcastle University, Lewis at the University of Cambridge, as well as Robert, as well at Queen Mary. Also, behind the scenes, we've had Alexa at Cardiff University, Will at LSE, as well as Elodie at the University of Southampton. So a massive thank you to all of you guys for being here and help answer all of these questions. These guys were all the experts. They have all of the information. If you feel like there are still questions that you need answering, I will be leaving this session open for a few minutes, and we'll keep an eye on that Q&A. On top of that, whichever institution you are interested in, all of these guys are so helpful, whether that means you go through the international student recruitment team, you look at all this information through the website. Everybody is here to help you and make that transition lots easier than it actually looks on the outside. That's the end of this session, guys. We have got two more coming up tomorrow, one of them being at 12 in the UK time and one of them being at 4:30. That first one is all about researching university options, which is really important. This is about finding the right Russell Group university for you, how they might differ, whether there's a certain subject area that you're more interested in, or there's certain student life, whether it's living in a city. That's what will be covered in the next session. And then finally finishing it off with the personal statement as well. That is all from us today. I want to say a massive thank you to everybody again for joining. On top of that, like I just wanted to reiterate for one final time, this session has been recorded. So if there were certain questions that you felt like were really interested and you missed, you will be able to rewind. And that will be available from next week on our YouTube channel, UK University Search. If there is anything else, please do ask in the Q&A, but we will be turning this session off in the next few minutes. Thanks again from me, Oliver, and have a great rest of your day. Cheers.